Shocking failures, alarmingly weak management and the waste of £140 million of public money. MPs could hardly have been more scathing in their report on the government's flagship welfare reforms. The new universal credit is meant to replace a range of other means-tested benefits by 2017, but there are now doubts over whether it can be delivered on time. Our social affairs editor, Jackie Long, reports.
It was Ian Duncan Smith's big vision, the centrepiece of his benefit reforms. But yet another damning report has cast a shadow over the future of universal credit.
It's the most important programme that the Department for Work and Pensions has. It's Ian Duncan Smith's baby. It has cross-party support, yet it's an unmitigated disaster of extraordinary proportions.
According to the Public Accounts Committee, implementation of universal credit has been extraordinarily poor. Much of the £425 million spent so far may have to be written off. Problems were hidden by a good news culture, and the pilots testing it out are so limited they're of little value. Paul Jackson is on one of the pilots in the northwest, one of only 1,000 people on universal credit across the country. All his benefits are gathered into a single payment, making him responsible for paying his own rent, rather than it being paid directly to his landlord. He says after some payments were delayed, he's struggling.
If it's down to me to pay my money, if I haven't got the money off the government, how can I pay it?
There's no question that the more problems universal credit faces, the greater the pressure on Ian Duncan Smith. Today he's been forced to deny claims he tried to exert pressure on members of the Public Accounts Committee to lay the blame squarely on the shoulders of the senior civil servant heading up the project. But Ian Duncan Smith's critics say this is his programme, and as the man at the top, he's the one who's got to take responsibility.
There is no truth in the allegations made about talking to members of the Public Accounts Committee.
The Leader of the House of Commons spoke up for an absent Mr Duncan Smith in the House today. And Tories on the Public Accounts Committee we spoke to also insisted he hadn't interfered. While Labour have always supported universal credit, the Shadow Employment Minister says he's written to Ian Duncan Smith to express his concerns about the project on 2 occasions, and says it's always been made clear who's in charge. As I understand Mr Duncan Smith's position is that he simply wasn't being told by civil servants, by the people charged with implementing universal credit, about the problems. But that's not his fault,
But he told me that he was chairing the meetings that were in day-to-day control of that project. The responsibility rests with him, and he should be carrying the can.
I think you'll hear the Secretary of State has said quite clearly, on budget, on time, what we're doing is for the right purposes to get it right.
Credible anymore? You've had a number of reports.
Hang on, it's not in until 2017. We are now in 2030. So they obviously don't know. Well, have they got a crystal ball for the 4 years ahead, like yourself?
On the basis of how it's proceeded so far, it will not meet the 2017 deadline.
Well, can I say that isn't the case? There is 4 years to go.
Ian Duncan Smith's flagship programme, so crucial to the government's plans to get people back to work, is clearly in need of work itself. The question is 4 years enough time to get it done?
We did ask to speak to Mr Duncan Smith, but he wasn't available.